increased it.
And joining us on the phone this morning to weigh in, Congressman Brian Bilbray. Good morning to you, Brian.
Good morning, Alexis.
Okay, it was a big weekend, probably a long night Friday for you as well as everybody else. It seems like, last week it was coming up with the budget for the rest of the fiscal year. This week it's about lowering the deficit. What's going on, Brian?
I think what's happened is, Paul Ryan kind of set the bar, and the president took a look at his February budget that doubled the debt in a decade, and he said, look, this isn't going to fly. The American people are way ahead of Washington on this issue, and that he needed to respond. And so he's trying to sort of do catch-up, basically, because I think a lot of people in Washington didn't realize how serious the American people are, and especially the middle. The independent voters really are going to judge both Republicans and Democrats, not on our rhetoric, not on other issues, but how brave are we to be able to address the crisis that we're spending. We're borrowing 42 cents on every dollar we spend. I mean, it's something totally unsustainable, as we'd say in the environmental community, but only Washington can ignore a problem like that. But now I think with Paul Ryan at least making a proposal out there, he's really raised the game, and the president's trying to respond to it. And, sadly, the president's a little behind the curve, but this is the rest of Washington is going to have to catch up too.
Well, and Paul Ryan said that they're calling the budget the path to prosperity because it's more than just a budget. What exactly do you think he means by that?
Well, what he's really looking at the fact that you've got to recognize that when the federal government sort of sucks up all the capital and the decision-making into a centralized control system, that it really bleeds the economy and innovation light in the rest of America. I mean, and it's not just about dollars and cents we're talking about. We're talking about, the ability of Americans to be able to make decisions for themselves and for their local community rather than expecting everything to be controlled or financed out of Washington. And as San Diegans, we know the crisis that local government's in. I'd much rather see the local communities, the local people being able to participate in addressing problems in San Diego rather than having it, the Washington control it and skim off 20 to 30%, as we've seen before. San Diegans never get our fair share of federal funds back. But those kind of challenges and that kind of process, because remember, Alexis, that when you make a decision in Washington, the public doesn't even get to be able to speak. In city, council, and county, you get to stand up and be able to tell them what you think. You did that in Washington, they throw you in jail. And we've got to remember that we're not just talking government, we're talking federal government, the most detached portion of the government that this country has, and we got to really shift it back more towards the local individual decisions and individual communities. Because I'll tell you, if somebody's been forced to live in Washington, you don't want these people running San Diego.
Well, and John Boehner said that he called it fiscal sanity. He hopes that we can return to fiscal sanity, but he said that the Republicans won't agree to raising the debt ceiling unless there are major concessions. Are you, Brian, in favor of raising the spending cap?
Look, the only way you can justify raising the spending cap to the American people is showing them that you are actually going to make sure it doesn't have to happen again. This kind of extortion game that Washington does, that we're going to spend so much money, and if you don't agree with us being able to borrow more money, the system's going to crash because we've run up the debt so much. And I think what you've seen is the debt doubled over just the last couple of years, and there's no way the American people are going to allow us to raise the debt limit, almost like making another loan, unless we cut up the credit cards and prove to the American people that we're not going to be back in 6 months or 2 years with the same kind of game. American people have seen the game playing that Washington's taken and the way we've played with. And it's Republicans, Democrats. Let's face it, the Republicans were thrown out because of spending. The Democrats are in trouble because of spending. Everybody in this town's better wake up to the fact that all the rhetoric and all the jargon doesn't change the fact that we're going to have to figure out how to make the bottom line work, and that debt limit is going to be a tough one. There's a lot of proving that Washington has to do before the American people are going to support it.
Okay, yeah, I think everyone's a bit frustrated. Brian, thank you so much for your time this morning. We really appreciate it. Representative Brian Bilbray joining us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, more politics now. A new survey shows President Obama's approval rating. It's slipping. The latest numbers show his approval